Hey, it's Riley, and in this video, I want to talk to you about the superhuman mindset. I'm currently right now on Thompson Road in Maui, and if you can see over there, it's actually Oprah's house, and she doesn't like it when gifts come over or when people come too close because there's a lot of security. But we're going to see how far we can get here as we walk along Thompson Road. And if you haven't been before, or if you're planning to come to Hawaii, definitely come to Maui. And if you're coming to Maui, definitely come to Thompson Road. Maui is one of the only places that I have been to where you can see snow and pretty much every type of vegetation that exists, from the desert to the jungle, to the ocean, to the sand. Anyway, let's get into the video, but I highly recommend you visit because this definitely contributes to the superhuman mindset because it is a very inspiring place. So, when it comes to the superhuman mindset, there's a lot of factors that we need to consider that are really important. And one of them is we want to have sovereignty. And sovereignty is sovereignty over our health, sovereignty over our mindset, a sovereignty over pretty much power and autonomy of everything, where we're not relying on the system or external things, we're relying totally on ourselves. And if we are so internally supercharged and superhuman and we don't rely on other things, then what's going to happen is you're going to start to find that you become extremely autonomous, and you know the answers for a lot of things that other people don't know, and people are going to start relying on you, or coming to you rather, because you're just that guy. And this is going to start giving you the vibe of that je ne sais quoi, because when you start improving yourself from the inside out, what I mean by that is both your health. So as we talk in superhuman, when you're improving your hormones, you're improving your brain neurotransmitters, you're releasing any subconscious trauma from your brain, you're optimizing your brain waves, what you're going to find is everything becomes clearer. You're going to wake up with little to no brain fog. You are going to just be totally on point where, times you may have relied on caffeine to start focusing on the day or to get anything done because you're getting these constant ups and downs. You're not going to be getting that anymore because your brain as a baseline default is just working so well by itself. And when this becomes your new normal, a lot of cool things start to happen because other people start to rely on external things and they have different crutches, but not you. Because now you become extremely efficient with your time, extremely efficient with how you spend your time, and everything goes up and up and up extremely quickly. So what you want to focus on, number one, for the superhuman mindset, it all comes down to, number one, optimizing your biology. Because when you optimize your biology, mindset becomes a lot easier. You might have noticed that after you do exercise, your mindset improves because there's a neurochemical reaction. Your mind of endorphins that are being released, and your brain neurotransmitters, for example, dopamine for focus, serotonin for feeling good. And exercise is also going to increase something known as brain-derived neurotropic factor, which is fertilizer for your brain to create neurogenesis, which is growing new brain cells. And so that is step number one that you want to do. You can still think your way to a better mindset, which is fine, but that's ultimately where it begins. Now, as part of the brain mindset, once we get our physiology down and everything else that we talk about, what we next want to do is focus on the different parts of the mind. Now, there are many different parts of the mind, and the first one is the unconscious mind, which is really the most important in my opinion. And every second, the conscious mind processes roughly 150 million, things of activity every single minute. And the conscious mind is only about 150. So the conscious mind, in terms of its activity, is really only 5% of our mind. The unconscious mind is about 95% of our mind. Now, we also have the subconscious, which is more of the autonomic nervous system, like breathing and stuff like this. And that's important too. But what's important is the other features as well. So the unconscious mind is processing so much in the background that you might not even be aware of. And so everybody is human and everybody has faults. And you may notice for yourself, as part of the human race, that you have had a hard time sticking to something. For example, you get a craving for food and you're going to eat it because you feel stressed out about something, or you feel hurt about something, so you irrationally lash out at somebody. Like, whatever it is, everybody has their own thing going on. And a big reason for that is something that may have happened from childhood that doesn't have to be a super severe trauma, but everybody has their own story or something else that had happened to them, whether it's large or minor. And what this stuff can do is store itself within our unconscious memory data bank. And it doesn't make sense to us, just like a lot of dreams don't make sense to us, because during REM sleep, we're trying to process a lot of these unconscious things that are happening. But when things become, a little bit too much, then when we're just sitting there and, reminiscing on our thoughts, or we're in certain situations we're held back by and we don't know why we're doing something, it doesn't make sense, it's not rational. A lot of this is our unconscious mind. And so what we can do with this is through technology, specific software, specific modalities, and all these things that we'll be talking about with Superhuman, is we can actually release this stuff from the subconscious mind extremely quickly. Now, what's so fascinating to me is that a lot of people, in sort of the outdated way, they've been talking about talk therapy, and you can talk to somebody, and that's good, and that can solve a lot of problems, and there's a lot of scientific studies around that. But the issue is you're sort of dealing with the conscious level when you do that, just rational thought, talking to people, thinking about the problem again, and it's not ever actually getting to the root cause. And we want to get to the root cause. And so when we're able to release stuff, for example, with EFT, with EMDR, where we use our eyes in a certain way, you're going to find that you can release this stuff extremely quickly. And so talk therapy can be good, and it saves people's lives. And, just like there's also cognitive behavioral therapy, and that's where you'll write down something that you felt was bothering you, and then you kind of look at it from a bird's eye view. Why was it irrational, and what is like a better way of thinking about it? And I think that's good. But one thing I've just been noticing is mainstream psychology has been looking more at this, but with new disciplines coming out and funding of MAPS, and they're looking at psychedelic mushrooms or MDMA, and I'm not saying to take those in any way, I'm just saying that is an extreme example of we can target it from this bottom-up approach. And the new methodology of the mindset, there's all this stuff with the conscious mindset, and we're going to talk about that too. But what I really want to emphasize in this video is, before we start injecting all these, you can do all the positive affirmations, you can look in the mirror, you can keep saying these things to yourself. But if you have all these weeds that are tied up in your garden, no matter how many seeds you plant in that garden full of weeds, a lot of the weeds are still going to be there. And so what we need to do is remove the weeds first. And for a lot of people, this starts with the unconscious mind to begin with. And we can still do a lot of this conscious mind work and the mindset and your philosophies and everything else. But if in the background you have this light refrigerator hum of you just feeling negative about something, you feeling depressed about something, or if things feel heavy, things feel foggy, and you don't know why, it could be because the bandwidth, your brain RAM, is being so overrun by this trauma from the past. Even if it wasn't severe, it's how you perceive it at the time, that kind of shaped, and this we'll go into as well, it creates this muscle armoring where your body and your tissues, they call it issues in the tissues, actually become that. And you just always feel stifled, and your body will send a signal to your brain that it is unsafe. Now, another thing with the unconscious mind we want to look at is we can actually use sounds to target the unconscious mind. And what you want to think of is, in order to release these weeds, these mind viruses that you have that you might not even be consciously aware of, it's almost like a parasite that's just taking over your mind. Eckhart Tolle might call it the pain body, but there's things that are weighing down at you. But there is a reality where you can release this stuff through this technology through this bottom-up approach, not this top-down approach, which is sort of becoming the outdated model, where you scratch just the surface, but you're never actually getting to the root cause. You're never going upstream to where the root cause is. And so if you keep asking why, you'll eventually find that the root cause for a lot of this can be in the unconscious mind. And so what you really want to focus on for this bottom-up approach is, what can you do to release this stuff? And a lot of these videos I'm going to be sharing with you are going to be talking about that, how you can release it. And starting with the mind is the most important thing, as well as the physiology, to get the right mindset. It's a bit of a chicken or an egg thing, but if you get that down, you're just going to feel lighter when you wake up. You're going to feel like you have a ton of energy. Even if you don't get a lot of sleep, you can get away with a lot more because your body is more resilient, your mind is more resilient, because on average we have on average about 70,000 thoughts per day. And the majority of these thoughts are automatic and we don't even control it because it's happening in the background. And the majority of those thoughts are the same thoughts that you had yesterday, last week, and last month. The list goes on. So you want to make it so that these negative thoughts aren't happening in the first place. And if you think about the opportunity cost of, all this time that your mind was thinking about negative circumstances or stuff that may rightly so have been happening to you, but when that's not there anymore, now your brain starts focusing on something known as your RAS. Your reticular activation system starts focusing on the things you do want, the things you do wish for. And just like a radar, when it detects those things, every single micro moment, it's going to start scanning for areas of success that you were completely blind to before. So there's so many areas of this that I've just seen so many people, so many clients, when we start with the mind using this bottom approach, releasing that stuff from their unconscious mind. Now their conscious mind, it's easier to have the right mindset, like just by default. And then that's where you truly become unconflicted. And when you're unconflicted, you have this magnetic aura that people want to be around. Whether it's a business deal, you're trying to close a sales call, maybe it's a partner, maybe it's something personal. Maybe you just want to feel better inside of your body, or there's things that you were self-sabotaging with before. Now those things are going your way and the upward spiral cycle begins. And what I can really just say to you is really start with the unconscious mind. The conscious mind is really important. We'll talk about mindset and everything else. But when it comes to being superhuman, the big approach here is going to be bottom up, starting from the bottom. Where are the roots? Where are the weeds? And how do we start from there? And as a result, once you're done, it's always going to be, things that you're focusing on day in and day out. But stage one is relief care. How do we get you feeling temporarily good right now? Stage two is that acute protocol. So this is where we're going through releasing all those mind viruses, releasing all those weeds inside of your mind. You call it the mind garden. But once we do that, then you're going to feel extremely lighter. And that's where we put the training wheels on and go into the acute protocol. Your body can build itself up, build up the resilience. So it can be finally self-sustaining, because you might be running on your emergency backup generators in your body, and your body is just in a state of fight or flight. So what we'd want to do is switch that around, give your body the support it needs, put the training wheels on, so it becomes totally self-sustaining. And then once it's self-sustaining, we can take the training wheels off, and that's where we switch to automation mode. And that's where you'll focus on the unconscious mind, release every once in a while. But the really core and that root stuff is gone from your brain, or at least the stuff that's holding you back now. And once that's gone, then that's where I have clients saying to me they don't even recognize their old selves, because what they released was holding them back, and they were so used and stuck inside of their pain that when things are just lighter, they become more effortless, more fun. Now they can get more work output, like 10 hours of work in 5 hours. So now they have more time to do the things that they truly want to do. So if your goal is to make more money in your business, if your goal is to do these other things, the service level is great. But what I'd highly recommend doing is focusing on the stuff that they don't tell you, which is going upstream, going to the root cause, going to where the stuff that actually matters, the meat and potatoes of it all. And once you do it that way, you're going to find that your life gets better extremely quickly, starting with the mind. Every thought you have creates a chemical reaction in your body. But how do you make it so those chemical reactions in your body are building your body up instead of breaking your body down? So I hope that was helpful. We're just scratching the surface on all this stuff when it comes to superhuman, but it's a really important element. Signing off here from Thompson Road in Maui. Don't know if you can see all the way down there. The beach is down there, the mountains up here. Highly recommend visiting, and we will see you in the next video. Bye for now.